From the IMTV Wave Channel 5 studio at Greenville Senior High School, home of the Greenville Green Wave, the Greenville Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library proudly presents Never Stop Serving.
Hello everyone. Thank you for watching our fourth season of Never Stop Serving. I'm Samuel Plock and welcome. Today's guest for episode 43 is the 3rd District VFW Senior Vice Commander and State Officer for the Voice of Democracy and Cootie. Please welcome Jerry Constable.
Thanks, bud.
You're welcome. Jerry, please tell us about your origin story, your family, where you went to school, and your military service.
Well, I grew up in a little town in North Carolina called Windsor, out on the northeast corner of the state. Very small. It was very similar to Greenville in size. One high school for the whole county is what we grew up with. But I determined early on I wanted to go into the Air Force, so after I graduated from high school, I went off to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in ROTC. Did my 4 years, got my commission, and then toured around different places in the Air Force for the next 20 years, ending up here at Wright-Patterson. I did 4 years in England, supporting Desert Shield, Desert Storm from the rear, and then I ended up in Korea for a year from 94 to 95, which was my eligibility for the VFW. I spent most of my time working in the comm and communications career field with computer systems and a lot on the Intel side of the house. I think I spent, out of 20 years, I think I spent 18 of them inside a vault with no windows.
Whoa. Jerry, thank you for your service to our great country, and thank you again for being able to come here to speak to us. Can you please tell us more about what you remember most about your service? Any story or stories?
A lot of it is it's the people that I've served with, the different, the officers I worked with, my enlisted troops that supported me during the whole time. That really made the whole career. I never had a bad assignment. There may have been people that made the assignment less enjoyable, but I never had really what I would call a bad one. I enjoyed everywhere I went. I made friends, and I enjoyed the work. It was nice because I got to learn new jobs every time I moved to a new location. It wasn't like I kept going back and doing the same thing all the time. I kind of equated, a jet pilot flies the jet, sits on the bag every day and just sits in his jet and goes and flies, which is fun, don't get me wrong. But as a staff support officer, I went from being a base level communications officer at Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. Then I went over to England and I worked for 4 years supporting the U2 program. I went back and I was teaching for the next 3.5 years. Then I went to Korea and then I had worked command and control systems, working with both U.S. forces and with Korean officers and Korean enlisted personnel. So I got a chance to learn a lot more there. I came back from there doing special duty assignment for the Secretary of the Air Force, and then moved in. I actually did multimedia, ran a multimedia flight for a while, and ended up in the Intel world. So I just kept moving around and learning new jobs everywhere I went.
Wow, that's something. Can you please tell us more about this item?
Sure. The Military Order of the Cootie is the honor degree of the VFW. The Cootie this is actually our 100th year in existence. We're actually celebrating our 100th anniversary in July down at our National Convention. The Cooties started at the end of World War I. The VFW had already been established in 1899 after the end of the Spanish-American War. The Cooties were a number of VFW members who had gone back over to France after the end of World War I to check on the different troops. Part of our job as veterans, as VFW members, is to take care of those who have served and those who are serving. As part of that, they got into the hospitals there and they started seeing what deplorable conditions there were coming out of World War I. World War I was trench warfare. Very dirty, very nasty type living conditions, living in trenches for extended periods of time. Well, one of the problems you have is when you live in that condition is that you get lice, or better known as cooties. But some of the soldiers that were in the hospital who had survived the trench warfare said the only reason they survived is because as the fighting started, the cooties started biting and they had to bend over to scratch. And when they did, they didn't get hit by a bullet. So the cooties saved their lives. So the cooties kind of jokingly took that on as their emblem of service to help and to preserve our soldiers in the hospitals and help them out as we go. Because of that, the VFW hat is the standard garrison cap. However, the cootie hat is a pup tent. Because World War I, they lived in pup tents when they weren't in the middle of the war. And so it's sideways, like a pup tent, with the tassels denoting the ranks of the different cooties.
Wow.
So I was the national commander from 2012 to 2013. So I wear a gold hat. A regular cootie, just any cootie, would wear a red hat. And I carry both because now I serve as the national judge advocate at the national level supporting the Supreme Commander. And so we support the VFW. Every cootie is an active VFW member first, before they can even be a cootie. And then we choose those members of the VFW that we want to become members of the cooties. While the VFW's got about 2 million members, the cooties have 15,000. So we're a very small group within that organization that spends our time doing hospital work, taking care of veterans in the hospitals, and we also helped start the National Home for the VFW National Home for Children up in Eaton Rapids, Michigan, back in 1923.
That's amazing. Statistics. As the senior vice commander, you are the next in line to be commander next year. What are your plans and vision?
The biggest thing is to continue a lot of the work the last 1 or 2 commanders have started, especially our current district commander, Gus Vitale. He's really pushed hard to get communication as a key focal point for what goes on in the district. A lot of times, your district commander's there. We have 34 posts in the district spread out from as far west as here in Greenville or down in Camden and Eaton, go all the way up to Versailles. We have posts all the way over to Urbana, and then down as far as south as Centerville. So we cover almost 5 full counties with our district, and we have almost the largest district within the state. Because that communication is essential, you have to be able to get information out because we want the post to succeed. And if we can keep the communications open where they can let us know when they're having problems and we can let them know of what is available to them, help them in the situation, then that communication channel will allow us to get and help those posts out and make sure we stay as a viable organization. Our biggest problem has been, as things have changed, the attitudes have changed, people view the VFW still as a nice smoky-filled dark room with old guys sitting around telling war stories and getting drunk. That's only a little bit of the VFW. The rest of it is what we stand for. Our congressional charter says we're an organization based on our precepts are fraternal, patriotic, historical, charitable, and educational. Doesn't say anywhere in there about drinking. The fraternal part is that part where we get together and have a good time together. The rest of it is what we try to do, things like this where we come out and our interface with the community, the programs that we support around the community where we give back and we work with the students, with the other organizations, to the hospitals, helping them out. And we want to continue that. My goal next year is to continue that with our motto for myself and our president for next year on the auxiliary side, who happens to be my wife, is communication and compassion. I was a communications officer for 20 years. She was a nurse in the Air Force for 24. So we have that 24 years of work together, and we just want to continue that with what we're trying to do for the VFW.
Sounds like those are good goals. I'm with you all the way.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Just a reminder, VFW Post 7262 Greenville, Ohio will be hosting a St. Patrick's Day Fest on Sunday, March 17th at 12 p.m. Thank you for coming in, Jerry.
Not a problem, thank you.
You're welcome. Please stay tuned and never stop serving for more details, announcements, and outstanding guests. Subscribe, like, and watch the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library's Facebook page for updates. This is Samuel Plock signing off.
Thank you for watching. Please visit us on our social media sites. Please consider contributing to our mission in some way. Also, we are always looking for veterans and their families to share their stories with us. Be sure to join us next week for our next episode of Never Stop Serving.